Kind of shady up against the house.
Okay, I should be able to hear you.
Yep. And of course, this is the main pump for the system. Like I said, this is the suction side, and that arrow shows the water flow. So the water gets sucked in that way, travels up, goes in your filter, out of your filter on this side, comes to this chlorine feeder, and this is where the tablets are going to go.
Oh, okay.
And there's the dial you would turn up and down. So 1's the minimum, 6 is the maximum, and you can be anywhere in between. So if you need more chlorine, you turn it up. If you got too much chlorine, you'll just turn it down.
Okay.
And those numbers mean nothing apart from they're just a reference for you to kind of know where you would be. So it's not a part familiar or anything.
Okay.
It's just a reference. Then once the water's gone through there, it's going to follow that return path, which then takes it to this ozone injector. And that's where the ozone gas that's created in this box, of course, gets introduced to the water and the little bubbles you got coming out around the side. Now you have on that suction side these 3 valves, and these valves all work the same way. They're just going to turn different things off and on. And whenever this off tab, and you can see it says off on those tabs, whenever that off tab is directly over a pipe, that pipe would be off. So right now, the only thing off is this off tab is over this pipe that says cleaner, and that's that line that I showed you that had the door on it. So if you have a suction side cleaner, you'll be able to open that door, open that up, and then have a different type of cleaner. So where we're pulling the water from then is the main drain at the deep end of the pool. Those two are tied together and comes up as the main drain. And then on this side, from skimmer number 1, which is by the steps, and skimmer number 2 at the far side of the pool. And you can see right now, this off tab is in the center right here, and so it's pulling from both of these directions.
Okay.
And when you'd want to change that is anytime you're brushing any type of that sand or grit or debris towards those drains at the deep end, you'll find there's not a whole lot of suction there to isolate those drains. So the best thing to do is whenever you brush is to rotate this around like that. Now the skimmer are off, and you're pulling everything from the main drain. So as you're brushing, it's going to pull that debris out of there for you.
Okay.
And if you were to jump in the pool with the skimmers off and just the main drains on, there's 0 chance of any type of entrapment where somebody's going to get stuck on those drains. If somebody swam by with long hair, it's not going to curl their hair up or anything like that. With these type of drains, that just can't happen.
Okay.
Another time you may want to change that, say if a storm came through, the top of the pool is just covered with grass and bugs and pine needles, whatever. Well, you could rotate it this way, and now the main drain would be off, and now you're pulling from the skimmers, and you'll find it pulls that debris off the top a little bit faster for you. Another time you may want to change it is say if you have a prevailing wind, and everything always winds up down here by skimmer number 1. Well, don't turn number 2 completely off, but maybe just pinch it back to make this number 1 work stronger. Whatever end of the pool you have the most debris at, that's the skimmer you want working the strongest.
Okay.
Where if it's in the center, it just kind of goes from both.
Evenly. Okay.
Yep. And so you can just move those around to your advantage if you want.
Okay.
And then all these have these thumb screws on there, where you can tighten that down, and then you can see it just locks those handles in place.
Okay, that number.
Yep.
Cool.
The spigot, that's just there to drain some water out of your pool. You get a bunch of rain, looks like the pool's gonna overflow. If it does, just can get the deck wet and get the ground wet, it won't hurt anything. But if you want to drain some water out, you can hook a guard nose up to that, run the hose wherever you want to pump on, just open up that spigot, and it'll just pump water right out of your pool.
How long do you leave the pump on? Like it's going now?
Yep, and the pump, it needs to run for today. Today's Thursday.
Yeah.
So for today being Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, you can go ahead and set it up on a time clock to run so many hours a day.
Okay.
And what I tell people is you can usually equate the average high temperature for the month with how many hours your pump needs to run.
Okay.
So for example, if the average high for the month is in the 90s, your pump needs to run about 9 hours a day.
Okay.
If the average high for the month were in the 50s, it would run 5 hours a day. So in the winter months, you can certainly cut it back to save some money on electricity. And it makes no difference when it runs, morning, afternoon, evening, people swimming, not swimming. It just needs to run every day.
Okay. 9 hours a day right now, 5 hours.
10 hours a day right now.
Well,
Yeah. And the instructions how to set this time clock up are right here where it says operating instructions.
Okay.
And the first thing you want to do is set the time of day to this little pointer that says time. It stays stationary, it's not going to move. It's actually that yellow dial that's going to rotate around.
Okay.
And so it's about 11:20 right now. And this has an AM and a PM on there. And to set the time of day, like it says, you pull this dial out to whatever time it is and drops it back in place. I can't get exact, but I'm gonna drop it in there somewhere around 11:30 or so.
Okay.
And then you have these two trips, and one of them says on, and one of them's gonna say off. And so for example, if you want this to come on at 10 in the morning and run till 7 at night, well, you put the on trip on there, whatever time you want it to come on, and tighten it down. The off trip, whatever time you want it to go off. And as that dial rotates, once that off trip gets to there, it will turn it off. And when that on trip gets around there the next day, it just turns it back on.
Okay.
What I'm going to do for now is I'm going to take that off trip off of there because we want it to run non-stop.
And would it be okay of setting this Sunday?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
So it's gonna run nonstop till Sunday.
Yeah, the more it runs, the better at the
Okay.
beginning, so it won't hurt anything.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is leave the on trip there, so that way if somebody were to shut this off, if this is somebody's bedroom and it drives them nuts, well, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, it's automatically going to override and turn back on.
Well, I guess today I could set it for 9 hours.
He wants it to
It's
run.
to run non-stop, at least
Non-stop.
till Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
But the on trip, I was just there just in case if somebody were to turn that off.
It's gonna
and
cut it
just
back
drive
on.
down the road and say, crap, I forgot to turn the pump back on.
Oh, okay.
When that comes around, it'll eventually come back on.
Okay.
Now the pump basket that you have has that clear lid on there. So you just need to check that basket and empty it as needed. And the first thing you do is turn the pump off like we had done.
Uh-huh.
The safest thing to do after that is on top of the filter, you have this air release valve, and you would open that up. And then just with the heel of your hands, that lid would pop over. You take that off and just empty this basket. And I'm gonna
Okay.
go dump this in that box, so I'll be right back.